3, 2, 1. Hey guys, what is up? How are we doing tonight? Or today? It's Monday morning.
Morning.
Yeah, we
Monday
record.
Morning,
Actually, every episode of the CineBoiz podcast is live. So whenever you press play, we actually all get together and we just start recording.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always a live experience with the CineBoiz podcast. But yes, this is the CineBoiz podcast. We got a new episode for you today. And we are part of the Cork Bats podcast network. So thank you all for joining us. We got a very special episode for you today. We're actually the only podcast on the internet where four guys get together and talk about movies. It's pretty cool. And don't fact check us on that because you're just going to prove us right. So there aren't any other podcasts. Okay. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing. That goes a long way. I've been saying you don't have to listen to the episodes if you don't want to. And it's true. You don't have to, you're not legally obligated by any means. If you subscribe, the subscription goes a long way. It doesn't mean you have to listen to us every week. I will say this though, in our defense, we're fun. We're fun to listen to. So consider sticking around for more than those few seconds where we get credit. You might get something out of it, If you're watching on the Cork Bats YouTube page as well, be sure to like this video. Also subscribe to Cork Bats YouTube because it's the best YouTube channel on the internet, on the YouTube. And that's a fact. Again, don't fact check us. Just do it. And you're going to find some good stuff that's probably going to change the way you think about life for the better. And it's really funny. So consider doing that. But yeah, I'm Kenny, one of the co-hosts of this amazing movie podcast called the CineBoiz podcast. I'm joined always by Tom Bragg in Columbia. Tom,
Heyo.
How are you?
I am well.
You're well. Good. Kevin, also in Columbia. How are you?
I'm also well. Thank you.
That's good to hear. And then Mob, East Coast Kentucky man. It's real late there right now, isn't it?
Yep, I am here.
Thank you for staying up past 8 o'clock to join us.
I don't think you understand how big of a deal that is for me.
I get it, dude.
I'm an old man.
I get it. Well, hey, look, here's the deal. It's almost Christmas. And there was another Christmas about 30 years ago where a little movie called Home Alone was released.
30 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh.
I looked online. 30 years. It's 30-year anniversary of Home Alone. And it's the 28th year anniversary of Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Both movies, arguably the same movie, just a different location. Would you disagree?
I'd argue it's the same movie except Home Alone 2 is way more violent. For sure.
Yeah.
But whatever.
There is a gun involved in Home Alone 2.
Just more deadly pranks, too.
Yeah.
Traps. Anyway.
A good brick to the face.
Yeah, no one should be alive after one or two of those things happen.
They drop a full lead pipe on their heads and they fall down the stairs and through the hole in the floor into the basement and they just are fine.
What a hole. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. When you're a kid and you watch that stuff, I worry that one day with my children, I'm going to show them this movie and they're going to be like, oh yeah, I can drop paint cans on people and there'd be very little repercussion. Not the case. That's you get messed up for life if somebody drops a paint can on you,
It's assault.
Yeah.
Maybe attempted murder.
Could be.
Yeah.
Maybe murder.
Could be murder if they die.
Anyway.
For attempted murder. I guess it is self-defense.
Yeah. Second one, though, that could get a little harder to defend, not his actual home.
But he's protecting himself from the robbers.
That's true.
The wet bandits, So anyways, look, we've done movie discussions in the past, and here's the thing with Home Alone. Everyone's seen it. we're not going to sit here and just walk through the entire movie and, step by step with you, because we don't need to hold your hand. You've seen it. You don't want to listen to a podcast where we just talk about Home Alone, shot by shot. We're not going to do that. Instead, I have some questions, some lingering questions about both movies that we're still wondering about that need to be answered, and we're going to answer them on this podcast. The questions come to us courtesy of Cinema Blend, so shout out to our friends over at Cinema Blend. They're good questions, and we might even come up with a few questions while we're going through this. But yeah, let's dive into it. First, I'll just give you a few facts about Home Alone 1 and 2. Both movies directed by Chris Columbus, not the gentleman who came over on the 3 ships and discovered America. Not that gentleman, but director Chris Columbus. And he's also, other notable movies he's directed, the first 2 Harry Potter movies, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Pixels. So,
Pixels, his crowning achievement.
Very much so. Very much so. It's also, both movies were also written by the great John Hughes.
R.I.P.
Yes. Also a director, but his other notable writing credits include Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, both of which he directed. And then he wrote the screenplay for Flubber.
Heard of it? Love Flubber.
Interesting.
That is a much better track record than Mr. Chris Columbus.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So let's just get into this, guys. I got some questions. We'll kind of start at the beginning. Introduction of both movies is, them trying to, get ready to go on these trips. And, in the first movie, Kevin's Aunt Leslie, kind of scoots Kevin off to go pack his suitcase. As though this is something a kid should have any business doing ahead of an international family trip. So I guess the first question is, why would Kevin be expected to pack his own suitcase?
He thought the same thing.
Yeah.
He was terrified of it.
The look on his face when that was announced to him, that's actually how I feel now.
Yeah.
Having to pack a suitcase.
Packing is one of my worst traits. I can't do it. I'm horrible at it. Night
before, very last minute.
Yep.
Always
it takes me way too long. It takes me so long, even though I feel like I'm not, I don't know.
Right.
I could pack for an hour and actually pack nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what privileged families you guys grew up in, but on my international trips, I was expected to pack.
I started packing at some point, but when I'm like 7, I don't think I was packing for international trips.
I
was
packing, but I wasn't packing my stuff.
I liked how Marv was trying to shame us while also saying like his family went on international.
Traveled internationally.
So you picked up on the joke.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
For my trip, seriously, growing up, I was expected to pack. And I think I remember it being that age being like, you trust me with this? Like, what I mean, and I would just like throw it in a bag and my mom would be like, no, you have to fold it. And I'm like, why would I do that? Because it'll be wrinkled. And I'm like, well, who cares? And she's like, I do. And then I'm like, so why aren't you packing this for me?
I have a
responsibility.
I have a vivid memory of one of the first times I was allowed to pack for myself. I just packed stuff in a grocery bag. And my mom didn't know until we were like on the road. And my dad was like, oh, that's a great idea. And he didn't do anything about it. And he got in a lot of trouble. He was like, why would you let him do that?
All I know is that I'm almost 32 years old, and I still need my handheld when I'm packing. Like, I need somebody to tell me what to pack. So to just tell like a kid, like, go pack your suitcase, like,
you might be what the French call les incompetents.
See what you did there. Yeah, like,
Very nice.
I know if I were a kid, I wouldn't pack anything I need. I would pack just stuff I would want to bring.
I'd pack like toys and
toys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
no
like
clothes.
It's like when my dad told me to pack my lunch, and so I did, and I threw like 6 candy canes in my bag, and he grabbed my bag and said, what are you doing? You can't do that for lunch. And I said, you told me to pack, so I packed.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we as children were held accountable for being given the responsibility and then not doing the responsibility right, and I won't stand for it anymore.
Right. Good for you, man. Good for you. So I guess the answer to the question is she should not have expected him.
That's just the first little red flag in a lot of red flags about parenting in this movie. That's all I'll say. A lot of questionable
Hey, it was the
decisions.
early 90s parenting.
It was
like
a
the Wild
different
West.
time. It really was. A lot easier to be a parent. Gotta
You
say.
could arguably say that this is the moment where things went south.
Could
People
be.
were
Kevin
like, oh
McAllister.
my God. We got to take control of our kids. Yeah, I agree.
Lesson here, do not give children any autonomy.
No.
Because
Zero.
shitty things will happen. Right?
Yeah.
I got another question for you guys. And this one's a little bit deeper. It's going to take a little bit more thought. Probably like thought outside of the movie. There's a young man in the film who goes by the name of Fuller. And he has his beverage of choice, which is
Pepsi.
Pepsi.
right. Easy on the Pepsi, bud. So with Fuller in the first movie, there's that great little shot of him drinking the Pepsi and smiling at the camera. However, if you notice in Home Alone 2, when they're getting ready and packing up the house, he's drinking Coke.
Oh.
Scandal.
Randall.
He's drinking a can of Coca-Cola. Why do you think Fuller made that switch?
Because Coke was like, after
Blowing
this.
up. Product placement, baby.
Yeah. As a kid, I grew up in a strictly Coca-Cola household, so I never drank Pepsi.
Yeah,
it was like
same.
the devil's water drinking Pepsi.
Right.
I liked Pepsi too, and I think it's because I think at least this is what my mom told me as to why we had Coke was Pepsi had more sugar in it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We were an exclusively Diet Coke family, and even so far as to go with caffeine-free Diet Cokes, and so like those came in like the gold cans.
The gold can, yeah, those were gross.
And I have memories of my parents being like, "Hey, go in the kitchen and get me a gold Coke." I didn't like it because it tasted awful, and I didn't want to do that for them.
You say that was the caffeine-free version?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Sugar-free, caffeine-free. There was nothing.
But our house, we had both regular diet and then caffeine diet or caffeine-free diet. It was weird.
Huh.
Do you think they still sell the gold Coke?
Man, I hope not.
I don't know.
Hey, so Ken, to get back to the question, what's the time difference between 1 and 2?
2 years.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think actually the timeline they keep saying. Remember, this happened last year.
Right. So in real life, in the movie timeline, it's a year.
Okay, movie time. That's what I was asking because I'm trying to think what happened in a year.
Yeah, just watch this
for Fuller to switch.
On the plane, she's like, "Last year, all this was happening," and then no, that was last year. This is in the past. Worst father ever. No intuition about anything. Always says everything. That's just dads, though. Everything's fine. Kids are fine.
Have the time of their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just Coke threw more money at the production than Pepsi did.
Well, that's the real reason,
right?
But why did Fuller make the switch?
Why
that's
did Fuller?
The question.
What was the character development? What happened that summer?
Because his dad Frank promised him, "Hey, you little twerp, Coke's giving us a lot of money, so you better suck this down."
That's actually right. That's
the right answer. What a cheapskate!
Freaking Frank. Giving all us Franks a bad name.
Or, Fuller just doesn't have a backbone.
Could be.
Yeah.
Can't stick to something. Fuller, of course, played by the great Kieran Culkin, who you can see on HBO's Succession, which, have you guys seen it?
I haven't watched Succession. I'm behind.
It's amazing. Do recommend it.
That's what everyone says.
There's a certain scene I think of from Succession every time I see Fuller that I won't describe, but you'll know it when you see it. And you'll think, that was the kid from Home Alone. Look at him now.
Okay.
So, Succession, HBO. I got another question for you guys. Okay. And I'm sure it's something you guys have thought about when it comes to this movie. How in the hell did the McAllisters catch their flight?
Pre-9/11, baby. Yeah. Yeah. You could show up to the airport 30 minutes.
And you could run as fast as you wanted to through an airport. Nobody cared.
You could walk right up to a gate.
They don't show up. They don't show up 30 minutes prior to the flight leaving. They leave the house 30 minutes to the 45 minutes. Yeah, 45 minutes.
I mean, there wasn't airport security. I don't I mean,
there was.
I know
it was just a joke.
Yeah, I know I flew pre-9/11, but I have no memory of going through anything. You just walk on.
I still remember getting there an hour early at least. Getting there an hour early. And then once post 9/11, it was all right, we have to get there 2 hours early.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's weird about this movie is I remember traveling by plane pre 9/11 and we were always there early. But that's because my parents had these kids to wrangle. Why are the parents in this movie not more adept at wrangling their children hours beforehand?
They have 13 people to account for on this trip. And that including luggage check because they're going international in the first movie. So
a big flaw in the second movie. So in the first movie, the power goes out for the whole house. So alarm clocks down everywhere. But in the second one, he just unplugs the plug for Kevin's parents' alarm clock. What is Frank and Leslie? What are they doing? Set a damn alarm.
They're relying on the McAllisters.
Yeah.
We'll get to Frank.
We're
going to get to Frank.
What a douche.
We have to get to Frank.
But yeah, that 45 minutes. And I'm not super familiar with Chicago. I've been there a few times.
Good airport. Not easy to navigate.
Busy.
Little amounts of traffic. I'll say that. Wide open roads at all times.
Yeah. Famously easy to navigate.
We're talking suburban Chicago getting to the airport in the time frame 45 minutes. You're leaving your home with 13 people, suburban Chicago, to an airport where you have to check your luggage and then get on the flight.
I'm going to look up the Home Alone house address and Google Map it.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. You look at that house and you look at that neighborhood, they do not live remotely.
They don't live close to an
airport.
No.
True.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just not possible.
It's in Winnetka, Illinois. All right, so let's track that to the airport.
While Kevin's looking that up, does anyone know, is the house in Home Alone the same one that Steve Martin's character lives in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
I had the same exact thought, but I do not think it is.
Okay.
Because I think that the McAllister's house is on a street, and the house in Neil Page's house in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, there's a street that runs directly up to it. At a T intersection.
Yes. Okay.
So I don't think they're the same home, but they do look similar.
Yeah.
Both movies John Hughes touched.
Really put Chicago on the map.
Yeah.
So with no traffic, it's 30-minute drive from their house to the airport.
So
you're saying there's a chance. And they didn't drive themselves. They had the bus. They had the van.
They didn't have to park. No parking.
So they didn't have to park.
The shuttle service.
They got dropped right off. I don't remember what baggage used to be like, but you didn't always have to pay for baggage. So they could have just chucked it at the people and said, go.
That's what they did. They put it on the bellhop thing, the trolley, and then ran away.
Yeah.
Just assuming they would get on the plane. That's ballsy.
But there also wasn't, and this time there wasn't the pre-checks. So you couldn't check in prior to getting to the airport like you can now.
True.
So there's that time you got to account for.
Did you even
13 people?
Mm-hmm. Did you have to check in?
When you're printing tickets, how do you not notice that you're missing a kid? What are they doing with this extra ticket? Because wasn't it on the plane where she realized, Kevin?
Yeah, so there was a floating ticket.
They
had a floating ticket.
But they handed all the tickets to the
That's right. They gave them to them all at once. They said, here's everybody.
They just said, all right, thanks, just get on.
Okay, so plot hole covered.
John Hughes.
He thought of everything.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so we'll leave it at it's plausible.
It's technically possible. Technically.
But I think there would have to be a lot of luck involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think it's possible.
Okay. There it is.
In the real world, no.
Yeah. Guys, I got another question for you. Why doesn't Uncle Frank ever get what's coming to him?
Yes, that's a great question.
He seems to be set up in both movies as some sort of villain. And he's just a dirtbag.
It's a good lesson for life, kids.
Bad ever happens to him.
What a boss, actually. Gets free trips internationally to Paris, to Florida, to one of my favorite lines ever is when, I think it's in the first one, and he just has like the whole tray of like shrimp cocktails, and he's just like, look what I've got. And he's like, Frank, that's for later. And he just goes, screw it, I'm giving it to the kids now. It's like, we're going to eat shrimp cocktail for lunch. Doesn't care about anything. I respect the guy, honestly.
He steals like silverware in first class on the plane. In your purse.
Yep.
Is that crystal? That's real crystal. Put that in your
purse.
Fill it up. Fill it up, please. I love him. I really do.
He's just
Is he the guy at work who is, he's on your team, you guys hold the same title, the same position, the same salary, but he pretends like he's your boss?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's who he is to me.
Takes credit for your ideas.
Yes, that. It's a group project. He puts his name first on the list and presents it like it's his idea.
He didn't show up to a single meeting.
Right.
He just kind of slithered in the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a kid, that didn't come across. I didn't think he was hateable. I thought he was funny. It's like, this guy, he likes a lot of champagne.
Just the funny jerk who he knows not going to hurt anyone. He's just a dick.
Right. Man, I hope one day I'm like Uncle Frank.
Just free vacations and stuff. Me too.
Just an asshole. Yeah. Well, hey guys, guess what? I got a question for you. So in Home Alone 2, there's a scene near the beginning of the movie where they're at like a choir recital or like a school like Christmas program or whatever. And Buzz is playing the drums on old Kevin with the candlesticks, and everyone just starts laughing. Like everybody in the audience.
Uncle Frank loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why does the whole auditorium laugh at Buzz's dumb candle prank, but not when the choir falls down?
And then when the lady falls off the piano bench.
Great question.
Off the stage.
Like all of a sudden now it's like, oh, this is serious. But Buzz can, be a little turd.
I love the idea of like full-grown adults laughing at a kid being bullied in front of a bunch of other adults. Just so great.
There's
Such
no
a 90s
way.
thing.
Yeah, there's no way this would fly. Like immediately, like somebody would get Buzz in check and be like,
Well, first off,
cut it out.
The age range in this choir is crazy.
Right?
Why are so many kids of such varying ages singing together? Buzz is way too old to be in a kid's choir. First off, he's a teenager. That's creepy.
Yeah. Also, sweet little Kevin's got the voice of an angel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why does Kevin get this solo? Kevin, all the good stuff happens to Kevin. Except for
Except for the horrible stuff.
Yeah.
Getting left behind.
I mean,
I did always find it weird that Buzz is this big old bully and he never got in trouble for anything.
Right.
And it was always Kevin who got in trouble for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Normally it's the reverse. Normally the oldest gets in trouble for something the youngest does and can't figure it out. I got in trouble for a lot of stuff my brother did that turned out to be my fault, but was actually not my fault. Like he would hit me with something and then I would punch him and he would start to cry and I would get in all kinds of trouble. It's like, he hit me with the wiffle ball bat, Mom.
Well, it's kind of like in the movie or in the first movie, the pizza, when he's like, oh, I just ate all the cheese pizza. You want some? And then Kevin goes after him. Buzz gets in zero trouble for being the instigator and being a real dick. but Kevin just gets sent to the attic.
Yep.
I love that scene right before that where it's just a quick shot of Buzz just cramming the whole slice into his mouth.
It's literally like shoving it in with one finger.
Really, it's talent.
What's the line he says, Tom? Someone's going to have to barf it all up or something?
Did anyone order me a plain cheese? Yeah, we did. But if you want any, someone's going to barf it all up because it's gone. Kevin, get a plate.
I think Tom could do a line-for-line reenactment of the entire movie.
Probably.
Down to the
Die
sound
Hard.
effect even.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'd love to try.
Be fun.
Like Home Alone, like both Home Alone movies, like make me really scared about having children. Not because like, oh, I'm scared that my son would be like left alone or like be lost in a big city. It's more just like I'm just scared of like having to deal with that many kids in my house, like being rambunctious.
I mean,
Like
the idea that all those kids come from just two families. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's a lot of kids.
I don't even know like who's who. Like most of those kids are just like, you know, blank faces for me because like they don't matter.
Right.
Like
It's Buzz, Kevin, and Fuller, and then sprinkle in some other
there's some
stuff.
sisters in there.
A lot of sisters in there,
Cousins.
actually.
Yeah.
Pete from
Yeah.
The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
Yeah. Kids, man. Can't kill them.
I cannot.
Definitely. We're anti-killing kids on this podcast. I'm just
Right.
Very much.
float that out
Right.
there.
That's why I said you can't kill them.
Right. Yeah. I just want to reinforce your thought.
Right. I have another question for you guys. So, Home Alone 2 obviously takes place in New York, hence the title Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. So the end of the movie in Home Alone 2 takes place at Kevin's uncle's like brownstone that's being renovated in New York City. And that kid literally does so much damage to that house.
It was in bad shape already. We gotta say.
They were renovating.
There was a giant hole in the floor.
Yeah.
Do you
That was
think-
there when he
Yeah. So here's the thing though, like obviously when they find Kevin, he's no longer there. They find him outside of Rockefeller Plaza and he's reunited. Do you think Kevin ever comes clean about what he did to his aunt and uncle's brownstone? Because like he has no
No way.
reason to be like, oh yeah, I was there and this is what happened.
I was fighting
just
two
totally-
criminals in your brownstone.
Right. It could totally just be like, oh, it's just vandalized. Like, do you
Yeah.
think Kevin ever told anybody about that?
No way.
Maybe he cleaned it up. He cleaned it all up in Home Alone 1 except for Buzz's room. But
Yeah.
he went on a cleaning frenzy.
The good news is that obviously his uncle's loaded if he owns a brownstone in New York City. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's insured and that was all taken care of.
I
But
mean,
do
he
you think
set
it's
off-
something that he's going to take to his grave?
He set off a full explosion.
Yeah.
A full-on explosion through the whole house. And Harry was fine, by the way. It's Harry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does
don't
the
know if he-
handstand into the toilet.
Yeah. Super graceful handstand, by the way. Incredible.
I don't know
Such
if
a
he
funny
takes it to
stunt
his
double.
grave. I don't know if he takes it to his grave. I bet it's one of those things where he holds it to himself for 10,
30-year
15,
rule?
20 years.
I have a couple
And
20-year
then-
rules in the works.
Yeah. And then I know. And and then later on, because it's such, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a badass story. So how are you going to keep that to yourself going to the
Right.
grave? And it's Kevin McAllister. Like he's
Yeah.
going to tell someone.
Yeah.
But also, and who would believe him?
I mean, he has evidence of it in just a year prior. So
Yeah. Hey, remember
No
this
one,
guy?
no one knew he did that then, though.
Sure.
that's true.
Except for the dude across the street.
Right. So
But he thinks it's well, I guess the old man for sure.
old
He didn't
man
know the
knows.
extent, though.
But he's dead now, so
Yeah. That's sad.
well.
But it is weird.
There's-
Like he went through like a pretty traumatic experience and like just don't talk about it. I guess they're just one of those families that they just don't talk about this stuff.
Like, what does
Keep it all
Mr.
bottled in.
McAllister do for a living?
What does he? He's
To
got to be.
afford that house and plane tickets to Paris for everybody.
He's some sort of financial advisor. Or he works with the stock market. He does something like that. He's in the financial sector. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's a CFO of something. Who knows?
Or he's just the late 80s, early 90s. He's in sales.
Yeah.
True. He's in sales.
He's in sales.
Sells a lot of stuff. A lot of ball bearings and nuts and bolts.
Yeah. Another question about Home Alone 2. At the very end of the movie, obviously, the gentleman from Duncan's toy chest has donated a shit ton of presents to the McAllister family because of Kevin's bravery. How do you divvy up all those presents? That's the question.
How do you get into the room to deliver the presents without anybody knowing that you were there?
He seems like a powerful guy.
Isn't there like a scene where like they show up with the presents and they just start like bringing them in?
No, they're under the tree.
Yeah, but like I think there is like a big delivery truck that we see, but like how is it that the McAllisters don't know about it until they just wake up and they go out into the room and they're all there?
I mean, it is a hotel room. People can just walk in.
It's a big hotel suite too, man.
Yeah, it's like 2 floors, right?
Still.
It's a Plaza Hotel, man.
You'd think somebody would have heard them come in. A team of people.
But how do you divide up all those presents, man? Who gets what? You don't even know what's in them.
You just got to open them and then like be like, all right, everyone gets 2.
Yankee swap.
And Yankee swap.
It's a classic game of Yankee swap.
Lost my notes there. Yeah, burning question, man. It's always sat with me years and years.
It's a good question.
So here's my last question for you guys. Do you think the McAllisters do anything to ensure that they don't lose Kevin again? Like, because obviously they didn't learn their lesson after the first movie.
Makes you kind of think that they're wanting to lose Kevin.
Right?
Some might say that, yeah.
They want to put their son in dangerous situations.
You know, we just said, children, you can't kill them, but we never said you can't just lose them.
Well, you shouldn't lose them. You shouldn't try to lose them.
Pro not losing your child. Pro not trying to lose your child. But the saying was you can't kill them. And maybe the McAllisters subscribe to that, hey, Kevin can't kill him, but maybe we could lose him.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think Kevin needs to have just like a special nanny who's with him at all times.
He needs Robin Williams to shadow him all the time.
Because, I mean, part of it is Kevin's own doing. Like, Kevin's kind of a wily little kid.
Is he the most resourceful 8 or 9-year-old ever, though?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say so. I can't think of any other kids that are more resourceful than Kevin McAllister.
What's the name of the kid from Home Alone 3?
That kid sucked.
How many Home Alone movies are there?
There's like 5. There's so many. There's some
Looking
really.
it up. Home Alone. 1, 2. What do we need? Home Alone sequels. Home Alone 3, Home Alone 4, Home Alone 5. So yes, there are 5 Home Alone movies. 3, 4, and 5, all 3 different kids. So.
I wonder if Home Alone 2 went to theaters.
What's that?
I wonder if Home Alone 2 went to theaters.
It did. It was huge. Like, Home Alone 1 was just like a freaking huge hit. So they're like, yep, let's double down on this. And I'm pretty sure 3 went to theaters too.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, they were
theaters.
I think after that, they're all straight to video.
I only asked because we were talking a couple weeks ago about how Disney never had sequels go to theaters.
Right. It's not their thing. They don't do that. Look, I've laid out some pretty good questions for you, but I want to hear, what questions do you guys have?
How did Harry and Marv escape jail? They're such idiots.
That's a good question.
You got to make a second movie, so they escaped.
In like fish crates or something. That was.
Yeah.
Well,
Also, like, if they got so schooled in the first movie, what made them think that they could take this kid again?
Ego.
His home.
Wasn't on his home turf.
in
Exactly.
a bigger, more dangerous city.
Yeah.
My brother and I used to count how many times each guy should have died in each movie. And in the second movie, Harry should have died like 15 times. It's a giant number. Every one of the bricks off the 3-story building should have killed him.
That was Marv.
Marv should have died like 15 times. He got straight electrocuted for like 15 seconds in the basement.
Turned into a skeleton.
Yeah. Marv.
Do you think that Home Alone 2 is Donald Trump's best role to date?
Yeah.
What other rules does he have?
I don't know.
Little Rascals.
He's in Little Rascals?
Yeah, he's the rich kid's dad. Go figure, right?
That might be his best role.
Yeah.
Not that.
I
I guess I was probably too young to know who that was.
I was borderline too young to know who he was in this movie.
Yeah, but you see, like, Home Alone 2,
But
you've
you're right,
seen like a million times. Like, Little Rascals isn't a movie that you revisit very often.
It's funny to think of Trump as just like this random celebrity that like we would just throw in movies every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at him.
Savior of America. Who would have thought? Anyways.
You think he'll revive his acting career?
God, I hope so.
They're doing a Home Alone reboot.
Are they
Is that
actually
real?
doing that? I thought it was just
I just heard
talked about.
rumors.
Yep, Disney Plus is going to do it. Chris Columbus came out and said he thinks it's a really bad idea. It's like, why would you do that if you have
I knew
lightning in
that.
a bottle? And then my thought was, well, you made a sequel.
Yeah.
So he knows why. And it's the same reason that Fuller was drinking Coke.
Who would we cast as the kid to wreak havoc?
Timothy Chalamet. He still looks like he's 10 years old.
He is a baby face.
He was pretty good on SNL last week, I gotta say. Did anyone watch that?
Really? I didn't like it. I didn't think it was that funny.
I liked him. I thought him and Pete Davidson had a nice vibe going on.
I just thought it was underwhelming.
I mean, it is underwhelming most of the time.
Yeah.
But there were a couple skits I laughed at.
Yeah. Was it one of you guys, or did I just see this on my own? Someone tweeted, we're talking about reboots. Someone suggested an idea for a Home Alone sequel where it's the original cast, so Macaulay Culkin, and then Marv and Harry, Joe Pesci, and Daniel Stern. And it's Marv and Harry have been in prison for like 30 years, and they've only been planning one thing, and that's revenge. And then it's like a very adult version Home Alone at that point.
I love it.
I can't remember where I saw that, but I'd check that out.
Here's what I can say for sure, is that if you pitch that idea to Macaulay Culkin and Daniel Stern, they would 100% do it.
Yeah.
Joe Pesci, on the other hand,
Right.
might be a tough sell because I'm pretty sure he did not even enjoy making those movies.
Which is interesting to me.
Yeah.
He didn't even want to do The Irishman recently.
Right.
He had to be coaxed into that.
Yeah.
So.
But and that's one thing I've always kind of been curious about is that you've got Joe Pesci, who's this incredible actor, and he usually is like bad dudes and like very violent and profanity slinging. Like, why did he agree to do the first one? And then like, why did he do a second one? Like, I mean, obviously, you get paid a lot.
Probably in
The second one is this.
It just seemed.
A lot of actors sign up to do like a certain number of movies or something, and then so like that's why you'll have random actors, like real actors in like horror films, because they like have to do this movie and not because they really want to.
I think there was something too with the fact that Daniel Stern was in it that made him more willing to do it, from what I've heard, because they had worked together before and they liked working together. So I think that was a pull for Joe Pesci, which to me seemed, I don't know, nothing against Daniel Stern. I don't think he's a bad actor at all.
Not quite on the same level though.
No.
Right.
It's hilarious to think of him just Joe Pesci in a PG movie where he can't swear.
Right.
Like
Well,
that fact alone is hilarious.
Apparently, like a lot of the noises he makes, so it's like a lot of. It's actually him like cursing, is what I've heard.
Yeah.
And they had to like dub it over. It's like, Joe, you can't say that, but you also can't tell Joe Pesci to not say something.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because Goodfellas came out the same year. You know, I'm sure people are familiar.
That's wild.
At this point.
What a contrast.
Like, yeah, let's not piss off Joe Pesci.
I'm guessing Goodfellas came out first, like earlier in the fall. Because I'm assuming Home Alone came out in the fall or Thanksgiving-ish.
Yeah.
Goodfellas
Christmas
came
time.
out September 21st.
Yeah. Home Alone surely came out like Thanksgiving.
Came out November 16th. So it was about less than 2 months.
So imagine you see Goodfellas and you're like, oh my God, this movie, Joe Pesci.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 months later, with your kid, you go see Home Alone.
Be letting my kid watch this.
Joe Pesci.
Well, it kind of like, so like I said last week, I watched that documentary on Elf. When they shot Elf, Will Ferrell was a nobody.
Mm-hmm.
But Old School came out before they released Elf.
He was a nobody?
He was when they shot it.
That's what they kept saying, but I don't buy that. Like he
was an
years.
SNL star, but like an SNL star is not necessarily a big movie star, right?
What year was Elf made?
2003.
So it was before Anchorman even. Okay.
Right. And so they had this raunchy comedy star from Old School now doing a kids movie. So not the same, but it's kind of interesting.
I don't question Will Ferrell at all on Elf though, but Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't question it enough, honestly, that Joe Pesci was in Home Alone 1 and 2.
He was perfect.
I think if they did do this sequel and they got Joe Pesci to be in it, they would be like, Joe, you need to just like go full Goodfellas. Like,
man.
Tommy from Goodfellas.
Because that's the thing. If they made it like an adult Home Alone, he could have more free reign over what he gets to do and say, probably.
Right.
I think it'd be hilarious if at the end of the adult Home Alone, they just actually killed Kevin. They got him.
Yeah.
They finally whacked him.
Yeah.
And then Fuller shows up and kills them.
I think we got a hit.
Yeah. I mean, sign us up.
Well, I mean, nobody would not want to see that. Like, nobody would not want to see that movie.
It would do huge numbers.
Be huge. They all get a huge payday.
You get those three, and then you essentially just do the last 30 minutes of Skyfall. You got yourself Home Alone 3.
Right.
That's not bad.
Yeah. I think we're onto something here. Because like if you think about it too, like the audience for that movie is us, like the kids who grew up with Home Alone.
We got money now.
Yeah.
Right. Like we're not going to take our kids to see it, but we might drag our parents to come with us and be like, look, we get to see an end to this finally.
Yeah.
We get to see how the story actually
Don't
ends.
you want to know, Mom and Dad?
And what's great about it is Macaulay Culkin will be playing Kevin McAllister, but he'll essentially be playing himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you assume that Kevin McAllister and Macaulay Culkin's life kind of went on parallel paths.
Yep.
I like to think so.
Got into drugs.
Right.
Got clean.
Right.
And now very self-aware.
Right.
His Twitter game is hilarious.
Like haunting like memories of his dark past throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good movie.
Man, we should
start writing it.
And, it makes sense that he would have that kind of life because he had two traumatizing experiences with two guys who were trying to kill him, and he couldn't tell anyone.
Yep, and he grew up wealthy. He had some money to get into the nose candy, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We like the booger sugar.
Yeah.
And Catherine O'Hara back too. She's still a concerned mom.
Yeah.
Worried about, him relapsing or something,
He's
This is a solid movie.
You could add in a romantic twist too, because now he's not 8 and it's not weird.
Yeah.
Right.
I want this to happen. I'm upset thinking about it not happening.
No,
who do we talk
really
to?
Yet.
And like the other thing is too, there's this like in Hollywood right now, there's these this theme of ignoring sequels. So Halloween, like they just ignored all the other sequels. So we can ignore 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Like they never
different cast. Doesn't matter.
Call this Home Alone 3.
Hell yeah.
I love it.
Home Alone 3, the end. The last shot is the screen going black. Kevin gets shot in the head.
Home Alone kills.
Man, that would be. I would watch the shit out of this movie.
Yes, 100%. How do we option this? Who do we talk to?
Huff's got to know somebody.
Right.
Daddy Huff. Who do you know?
Yeah. Austin, if you could get on that, we'll start promoting it. I think that'll be a good move. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. We're done. We went through it. We talked about it. Do you just want to say a couple things? First and foremost, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the CineBoiz. Also, if you want to email us, no mailbag this week, but if you want to email us some questions, the CineBoizPodcast@gmail.com. Again, we're part of the Cork Bats Podcast Network. So follow Cork Bats on Instagram and Twitter at Cork Bats. Go to corkbats.com website. A lot of good stuff on there. Basically, we'll say this, like when you follow Cork Bats, you're helping us out too. So, anything that you do with them, if you like it, that's great. So, don't listen to the junk drawer. And then, we're going to take a week off. We're going on vacation. So there's going to be no new episode next week. So everybody enjoy your holidays. We'll be back in the new year. Better than ever because we'll be rested, So, guys, thanks for hanging.
Always a pleasure.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.